Hurricane season, two words that strike fear into the hearts of Floridians. 2024 was no different. The Sunshine State braced itself as Hurricane Milton, a Category 3 monster, churned towards the Gulf Coast. On October 9th, the storm made landfall near Siesta Key. Winds howled at 120 miles per hour, pushing a wall of seawater onto the shore. Milton had been a Category 5 beast just days before, packing 180-mile-per-hour winds. Even weakened, it was a force of nature few could imagine. The storm wasn't alone, it came with a deadly entourage. Over 40 tornadoes, including 3 rare EF3s. These spun off from the main hurricane, carving their own paths of destruction. This wasn't Florida's first hurricane rodeo of the year. Milton was the third to hit, tying a grim historical record. Coastal communities, used to the threat, found themselves on the front lines once again. Storm surge, the ocean rising up, swallowed homes and businesses. The wind, an invisible hand, ripped at anything in its path. As quickly as it arrived, Milton moved on. But the silence it left behind was deafening. The true scale of the damage was only beginning to reveal itself. One thing was clear. Hurricane Milton was a stark reminder of nature's raw power. It was a wake-up call for those who thought they were prepared. Emergency services were stretched thin, responding to countless calls for help. Volunteers and community centers sprang into action, distributing supplies and providing aid. Amidst the chaos, there were moments of relief as families reunited. The rebuilding efforts began almost immediately, with construction workers repairing homes and infrastructure. Government officials assessed the damage and held press conferences to update the public on the response efforts. The resilience of the community shone through as people came together to support each other in the aftermath. Hurricane Milton didn't just hit the coast and vanish, it was a relentless force of nature that left a lasting impact. It tore a path of destruction across the heart of Florida, leaving communities in ruins. The storm surge was just the beginning. Massive waves crashed into buildings, flooding streets and causing chaos. As Milton moved inland, it unleashed its fury on everything in its path. The winds howled, tearing apart anything that stood in their way. Homes were reduced to rubble, businesses were ripped apart, leaving owners devastated and communities shattered. Debris littered the landscape like confetti after a parade, only this was no celebration. It was a scene of utter devastation. The tornadoes that spawned from Milton added to the chaos, creating a nightmare scenario for those in their path. These weren't your typical twisters. They were monstrous, with winds that could tear apart the strongest structures. Some packed winds of up to 165 miles per hour, enough to turn a house into toothpicks, leaving nothing but debris. They touched down in several counties, adding insult to injury. Neighborhoods were left unrecognizable, a shadow of their former selves. Trees, once symbols of strength, were uprooted like weeds, blocking roads and causing further destruction. The rain, relentless and unforgiving, turned streets into rivers. It poured down in torrents, showing no mercy. Rivers overflowed their banks, turning entire towns into lakes. The water swallowed everything in its path. Cars became boats, floating aimlessly. Vehicles were submerged, rendered useless by the rising waters. The flooding wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a threat to life and safety. The waters were treacherous and unpredictable. Families were trapped in their homes, water rising around them. They were isolated, cut off from help. Roads were impassable, cutting off escape routes. People were stranded with no way to reach safety. In the storm's wake, the full extent of the damage was hard to comprehend. The landscape was forever altered. It was more than just numbers on a page. It was lives shattered, dreams washed away. The emotional toll was immense. Hurricane Milton had left its mark on Florida, a scar that would take years to heal. The road to recovery would be long and arduous. Amidst the devastation, amidst the wreckage and despair, something remarkable happened. Hope emerged. It flickered like a candle in the darkness, a testament to the human spirit. Stories of survival began to surface, stories that reminded everyone that even in the darkest of times, light can be found. First responders, the true heroes of any disaster, sprang into action. They worked tirelessly, putting their own lives on hold to save others. Firefighters waded through floodwaters to rescue trapped families. Police officers directed traffic and maintained order in the chaos. Paramedics treated the injured, their hands working miracles under impossible conditions. But it wasn't just the professionals. Ordinary people became extraordinary. Neighbors helped neighbors, offering food, shelter, and a shoulder to cry on. Strangers became friends, united by a common purpose to help those in need. The outpouring of support was overwhelming. Donations poured in from across the state and beyond. Food, water, clothing, tools, anything and everything that could help was offered with open hearts. The road to recovery was long, but these acts of kindness, these beacons of hope, served as a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable destruction, the human spirit could endure. Section 4: Everyday Heroes. The news cameras often focus on the big picture, the flooded streets, the destroyed homes, the staggering statistics. They capture the scale of the disaster, the overwhelming sense of loss, and the sheer magnitude of the devastation. But behind those images are countless stories of individual heroism, of everyday people stepping up to make a difference. These are the stories that often go unnoticed, the quiet acts of bravery and kindness that make a world of difference. These are the unsung heroes of Hurricane Milton, the ones who, without hesitation, put their own lives on hold to help others in need. The first responders, yes, they deserve all the praise they get. Their bravery and dedication are unparalleled, and they are often the first on the scene, providing critical assistance. But what about the volunteer who drove for hours to deliver supplies? The one who navigated treacherous roads and braved the elements to ensure that those in need received the help they required? What about the family who opened their home to strangers who had lost everything, offering not just shelter, but a sense of hope and community in a time of despair? What about the teenager who spent days clearing debris from his elderly neighbor's yard? His actions, though small in scale, had a profound impact on the lives of those he helped. These acts of selflessness, often done without a second thought, are the glue that holds a community together in times of crisis. They are the threads that weave the fabric of resilience and solidarity. They are a testament to the inherent goodness that resides in us all, a reminder that in the face of adversity our true nature shines through. These are the stories that need to be told, the stories that remind us that even in the darkest of times there is always light to be found. They inspire us to believe in the power of community and the strength of the human spirit. The volunteers who man the food banks, tirelessly working to ensure that no one went hungry. The doctors and nurses who worked overtime at makeshift clinics, providing care and comfort to those in need. The construction workers who dropped everything to help rebuild their communities. Their efforts are nothing short of heroic. These are the true heroes of Hurricane Milton. They are the ones who remind us that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, humanity can prevail. They are the ones who show us that together we can overcome any obstacle. Their stories are a beacon of hope, illuminating the path forward in the aftermath of disaster. Section 5: Rebuilding from the Rubble. The immediate aftermath of a hurricane is a blur of activity. Rescue efforts, emergency aid, and the sheer shock of the situation dominate the first few days. But as the waters recede and the initial shock wears off, the long and arduous task of rebuilding begins. For many it starts with the debris, mountains of it, homes reduced to splintered wood and twisted metal, personal belongings once cherished now scattered and ruined. The task seems insurmountable, yet slowly, painstakingly, the cleanup begins. Next comes the restoration of essential services. Power lines need to be restrung, water treatment plants need to be made operational, roads need to be cleared. Every aspect of daily life